Hello everyone. I have the Tudor tag to do today. You'll probably hear that again because my mom's been vacuuming. So it's a very short, simple tag about the Tudors. Anyone who knows me knows that I love a good Renaissance festival. I've gone to several. Well, not several. I've gone several times. I'd love to go to more than one, but unfortunately, due to restrictions with the vehicle and the fact that we live so many hours away from all of them, we don't get to travel. But I've done a Renaissance tag, and now I'm doing a Tudor tag. Because the one that we have has Henry VIII and his wives. So, number 1 out of 12. Straightforward. Are you Team York or Team Tudor? I do quite like the Yorks, but obviously this is the Tudor tag, so we're gonna have to go for the Tudors, aren't we? Oh, yes, I am going to probably be fighting with this tiara the whole time. I'll have to overlook it. Also, not sponsored, but it came from Hobby Lobby. I know quite a lot of people on my TikTok really like it, so anywho. Number 2, which Tudor King is your favorite? I only really had like 3 to choose from, but I do really love Henry VIII. He's just a very complicated guy, you know. I love him. And ours at the Renaissance Festival gives really good hugs. So that's probably why I'm more Team Henry VIII. Number 3 is which Tudor Queen is your favorite? So, obviously Elizabeth has to choose. That has to be your answer, right? Elizabeth was the golden age. So, Mary was alright. Well, I don't know. Elizabeth definitely did a lot of things that I personally would not have done, but you gotta give her credit, man. She reigned for a very long time. Number 4, who do you think deserved to reign? Lady Jane Grey or Mary the First after Edward died, and why? Which can be a bit of a complicated answer, because Lady Jane Grey was who he had chosen because of how everything happened with his father, and how Henry had been like, yeah, so you're not legitimate anymore. Sorry, it's tough to be you, but I want to bury this one. So, like, yeah, your mom, we're gonna get divorced, you're no longer considered legitimate. It sounds like a you problem. So, in a way, he was just kind of doing what he had to do. Also, he didn't want the country to go to Catholicism. I'm pretty sure Lady Jane Grey was not Catholic, so my knowledge of her is not the best. But I hate to see what happened to her. She was just doing what she had to do. She couldn't really deny the king's last wish. He changed everything so that she could be queen. So I guess I feel a little bit of sympathy for Lady Jane. So I guess I'll go with her. I know it's probably going to cause a little bit of issues, but, you know, why not let her be queen? Mary did a lot of bad. I don't think Jane would have done that. Number 5. Do you think Elizabeth was in the right for having Mary Queen of Scots killed? I loved Mary Queen of Scots. And then again, I also know that for political reasons, it had to be done. Elizabeth was always worried that she was going to try and take her crown, take her throne. So, as one does, you eliminate your threat. Now, whether or not I believe Mary was guilty on all those charges, I don't necessarily think she was. I'm sure history tells otherwise, but I'm a girl's girl. I really loved Mary. And she had a very tragic life. I would have just left her in prison. I wouldn't have killed her, personally. But do I think she did right? By standards of her time, yes. As unfortunate as it is to lose a fellow queen, I do think politically she was right, even though it was killing not only a queen, but her cousin. You know? I don't know. You've opened a can of worms by letting me do this video. I'm not the best with history, but boy am I gonna try. So, number 6. Would you rather be a Tudor princess or a lady-in-waiting to the queen? Well, if you were a lady-in-waiting to one of Henry's queens, Henry VIII, there's a strong chance you're gonna end up being forced into becoming a mistress, and potentially the queen yourself. We have several good examples of that. But a lady-in-waiting to Elizabeth, I believe, if I remember correctly, she wasn't all too bad with her ladies. Mary was probably the same. I don't remember much about Mary's ladies, but being a Tudor princess is complicated as all get out. Any princess was complicated back in that time because you were a pawn. And then if you were Henry's daughters, then there was a strong chance that you were going to get disowned whenever he moved on to his next wife. Now, Henry VII's daughters were just married off for political gains. So, I'll go with lady-in-waiting. It's a lot more work, but at least I'm not going to get married off or potentially disowned by my father. Woo! Number 7. Which Elizabeth is your favorite? Woodville, York, or Tudor? I do really love Elizabeth Tudor, but Elizabeth of York, I do love her so much, so I'm gonna go with her. Don't get me wrong, her mama was good too, but I'm gonna go with York. Number 8. Would you watch a joust? Yes. If it was anything like the Renaissance festivals, I know, it's probably a lot worse, because, you know, it's not for show. I would love to watch a joust. I'd like to watch sword fighting too, for real, but sword fighting was not one of the questions. It was just, would you watch the joust? And yes I would. Number 9. Do you think you would enjoy their food? Absolutely not. I am a picky eater, and some of that stuff is nasty. So no, I do not. Unless I can live off of turkey legs, but that would not have worked either, because, no. I don't think I would like their food. Sorry. Would you rather be a jester or a knight? I feel like jester would be a little bit on a safer path. So all you have to do is not upset the king. You're not going to go off to war, or whoever your lord is. So jester, I'm sure I can find some sort of jokes. 11 is who was the saddest death in your opinion? So obviously there was a lot of deaths in the Tudor period, and a lot of them well known. I've talked briefly about Mary Queen of Scots, I've talked briefly about Lady Jane Grey, but I'm going to go with Margaret Pole. Just because of all the things that she had to suffer. And then Henry turns around and then has her, well, beheaded. So that poor girl never really knew much peace. Which is unfortunate because, again, that was another family member. But I'm going to go with her. Margaret. You might have been a character. We don't know for sure. I'm sure people will come at me later, but I'm going to go with Margaret. Homegirl just needed a breather. Needed a break. And then she ended up being killed by Henry VIII's order. So I'll go with her. She's my saddest one. And the final question. Finally, if you could travel back to the Tudor times and would be completely safe, would you go? So, traveling back in time, we're not going to be accused of a witch. So we can travel back in time and be safe. We're not going to catch any disease. We're probably not going to give away any diseases. We're not going to be burned at the stake for being a witch. We're going to probably show up in period clothing. What would you do while you were there? And which Tudor King Queen would you see? So, obviously, if we were having the guarantee that we'd be safe, we're not going to get killed, we're not going to give away any illnesses, not going to get any illnesses, dress period appropriate, so we're not going to get called out, I would probably just want to see Anne and Boleyn. I don't necessarily think that I would warn her because I don't want to change the course of history, but Anne is our current queen at time of filming for the Renaissance Festival. That's probably going to change. Who knows? Because Jane obviously has to show up eventually. But I would just want to see, you know, because they always paint her out the villain, and she was more than likely innocent. I would want to hang out with her, at least for the day. Would she like to hang out with me? Probably not. But I would like to try. And I would just want to be there. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to stay forever. But I would love to do a day trip. And make sure I got the confirmation that I needed, that she was innocent in the end. So, I know that wouldn't have taken just a day. But, that's what I'm going to go with. And that's the end of the Tudor tag. So I will see you next time. Bye!